Being able to manage your money is 10% knowledge and 90% action. So if you aren't aware of this, it's time to change what you know and start taking action moving forward. So we're going to go through the key reasons why you should be budgeting, as well as the essential rules when it comes to managing your personal finances as a beginner. So watch to the end, be sure to slap the like button in this video, and we know that your time is valuable. So if you're in a rush, be sure to watch this video faster. Nathan here, welcome to the YouTube channel, and in this video, I wanted to be talking about the importance of budgeting and what you can really do right now as a beginner when it comes to managing your own personal finances. Now, let's make one thing clear. When it comes to budgeting, you actually have to understand that it's not exactly about the restrictions that you place on yourself, but actually it's about creating more freedom in your life.
Mind blown.
But seriously, here's a definition of what budgeting actually means, and I've been doing it for the past few years since I started my own journey into personal finance, and I've seen a massive change in not only how I spend money, but also how I see and value each dollar that I've earned. But if you still feel that you don't need to budget, how about I list some things that might change your mind? You're gonna be more in control in your life. You're gonna actually be less stressed when making life decisions. You're actually going to be much more confident in how you just exude yourself as a person. And finally, you're actually going to be able to find money to spend on things that you actually want. So yeah, I do actually think you are going to want a piece of this. So before we actually get into it, there is a common misconception that when it comes to budgeting, instead of focusing on the money you currently have, you should actually just focus on bringing more cash flow in, bringing more money in. And as much as that isn't exactly wrong, I believe that you should actually patch all the holes in your funnel first before you go splashing more water in it. So now that I've convinced you, I actually think one of the most important parts and the very first part when it comes to managing your own money really comes down to the visuals. You really need to see each dollar for dollar spent and exactly where it's going. And this may actually resonate with you, but prior to going through all this, I used to think just in my head. I used to think every single week where my dollars would be spent, where they would be going, and just have a general ballpark of why I don't have much money left in my account. That's definitely not the way to go at all. Now, something I want you to think about as almost a shower thought is that how often are you driving without a map or without some form of navigation, because most likely you don't. And really, based on that, if you actually did drive without any navigation, you would most likely go into the general direction. You might probably get there in the end, but that's not without getting lost a few times, having to ask directions a couple of times, and just having a very confusing journey after all. And that's how I like to see what it's like in terms of seeing the visuals of your budgeting, of where your money itself is going. Without actually seeing the visuals, without actually having a map of where your money is going, you're gonna get from point A to B, you're gonna have some money, you're gonna have no money, but in the meantime, you're not gonna know what's going on between the process. So that means that being able to budget and actually create money rules is gonna be the most efficient way from you to go to point A to point B of spending your money, and then being able to see where it's going so that you can then plan and then execute to create the life that you wanna live. So we're gonna go into a bit of homework here, and what I'd like you to do is open up your daily accounts where you actually get the most expenditure out of, and then open up a spreadsheet or find a notebook and actually jot down all the expenses and all the things that you've spent on in the last fortnight. And if you're really feeling brave, go all the way back in the past month, because you'll get a better idea of the more average way that you spend. So this is most likely going to be dollar for dollar where your money is going over the last month, and it may be a busy month, it may be a month that you went out of whack, but at the same time, it's probably a good example in the beginning. So as a beginner, this is going to be your first roadmap into understanding from point A to point B how you're spending your money. And as well as that, you are finally going to make the first step into understanding really the principles of money managing, which is, are you spending your money on your wants, your needs, or are you actually saving your money? And that's where we actually move into the rule of 50, 30, 20. Let's get into that. So the 50, 30, 20 rule is actually a rule that I've used as a beginner, and a rule that I actually recommend to all my friends, to any people who want to start budgeting their money. So what it is and what it encompasses is a percentage split of your net income which is actually your income after tax, and then goes through it. So then with 50%, you're spending on your needs, with 30%, you're spending on your wants, and 20% you're either going to be saving, investing, or paying down debt. So going back to what we were talking about when it came to actually writing down your expenses, you're now going to see what type of expenses were used for groceries or fuel, maybe motor vehicle fixes, which actually come down to your needs, or whether you were spending too much on different subscriptions like your Hulu, having Disney, having Netflix, all of that falls into your wants. Now, if you're actually receiving interest as well from a potential credit card, then straight away you can actually see that you're not maximizing your situation for the better, and if anything, you're letting too much water out of the funnel. So there's no point even filling it up if too much is falling out. Let's go patch up those holes. So the reason I actually like this rule for beginners is because it allows a little bit of income for everything. There's no point in saving 100% of everything that you earn and putting it straight into your needs, because if you're making enough money, there's no need for that. There's a lot of time for things that you actually want to do, and you want to make life worth living. So enjoy the money that you make, if obviously you make enough and your situation is useful for it. Now, just a reminder is that this rule is not actually set in stone and shouldn't be used as a cookie cutter method for every single person that watches this. If you're a high income earner, your needs percentage is actually going to be a lot less and you will have a lot more free cash flow. So at the same time, this 50-30-20 rule might not be beneficial for you. And at the same time, you might be a low income earner. With that 50-30-20 rule, you're not going to need a lot more than 50% on your needs because you're actually making a lot less money. So your needs percentage is going to be a bit higher. But at the same time, you always want to keep an eye out on whether you're saving, whether you're investing, or whether you're paying down debt. So general rule of thumb is that if you have any debt to pay, such as a credit card, for example, pay that down first. Always give a bit of your percentage to pay that down, because if you're not, you're most likely going to be losing money there while you're trying to save money elsewhere. And this is where budgeting, managing your personal finances really comes into play. The main thing to understand is that by actually understanding where your money is going, understanding the primary rules that you can use when it comes to managing your finances, is that you're actually taking the first steps of your own financial freedom, and it's a pretty thrilling feeling. So I'd like to congratulate you on that first step. For those that want to know a little bit more about that rule, I've actually put the link in the bio, which actually has a calculator so you can calculate it if you're being lazy, and just a lot more information in terms of what your needs, your wants are, and the best way to go about it if you actually are in a different situation. So definitely recommend checking that out. So we've hit the end of it, so make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel where I'm going to be posting weekly, and then hit the notification bell to know when that is. Super excited to be continuing to create content on the things that I actually want to talk about and the things that I think you would really enjoy. So until then, ciao for now.